Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I am delighted to welcome you all to CSTE's first ever virtual awards and recognition ceremony. I am Janet Hamilton, CSTE Executive Director. As we begin tonight, please note that attendees are muted on entrance and video is accommodated for 50 individuals, so we sincerely hope to see some of you. Attendees should remain muted during the event. I'm thrilled to be joined hosting this evening by both immediate past president, Dr. Sharon Watkins, Pennsylvania State Epidemiologist, and CSTE President, Dr. Sherry Davidson, Interim Alabama State Epidemiologist. Many of you know that CSTE holds the annual awards ceremony during the President's Banquet at our conference. This year, we canceled our annual conference, and like the pandemic that precipitated that, it was historic. For the first time, the annual meeting was canceled since CSTE was formed in the early 1950s. During these weighty times, the executive board felt it important, perhaps more important than ever, to hold up public health and recognize our leadership. It is indeed an honor for me to be speaking with you all on this special night. This is the most unique CSTE award ceremony we have ever conducted, not only because it is taking place virtually, or the night after the strongest hurricane hit the Louisiana coastline in 100 years makes landfall, or that it takes place during an unprecedented response to a pandemic of scope and magnitude that we have only imagined. There are few people or places unaffected by this global event, and the world itself seems less steady. Tragically, we all know friends and colleagues who are part of the over 180,000 fallen to this disease, and to those fallen to injustice based on race. The disruption to all our lives may leave us unsure that we are equipped to carry on, but we are. We take care of ourselves and each other. At no time in recent memory has public health been under such pressure to do critical work now while negotiating incredible constraints. This coronavirus pandemic, the public health crisis of our era, presents challenges unlike those ever faced before by health agencies at the local, state, tribal, and territorial levels, and the federal level too. The COVID-19 pandemic is testing the limits of America's health systems and our public health system, while testing our culture's willingness to sacrifice freedom and mobility for the sake of saving lives. Also laid bare in these times are our nation's struggles with systemic racism, a public health crisis in its own right. Our members face unprecedented leadership challenges in their attempts to mitigate the virus's spread and help hold our cities and communities together. The crucial work of public health is generally conducted behind the scenes. Our job is done in a way that supports prevention, and when done well, people are healthier without ever seeing the work we did that supported that. The COVID-19 crisis thrust that work and our public health leaders that guide it onto the main stage. Leaders faced increased risk with heightened exposure, but with increased risk comes increased opportunity. By forcing attention on better situational awareness, wise decision-making, improved communications, and optimal energy management, we have the opportunity as rarely before to prevent disease and save lives. We have an urgent need for leadership, not just management, in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. Each crisis unfolds over an arc of time with a beginning, middle, and end. The leaders we recognize tonight have been thinking across this arc, considering how the future may unfold and what new issues will present themselves over time. But their contributions are far greater than that, as their efforts in this response are just an extension of their lifelong work and represent the best versions of ourselves. And that's why I'm so proud to be talking with you all tonight, carving out a small piece of time to recognize our organization, our leadership, and present awards to our finest. Our program tonight will have 3 parts. First, State of CSTE, highlighting some key accomplishments and upcoming COVID-19 activities. Second, recognition of our outgoing board members and most esteemed awardees. And third, closing with installation of our new board. We come together during these enormously stressful times when we all have long lists of must-dos in front of us to celebrate, to rejuvenate, and to recognize the good, our best, our leaders, those who have taught us to lead with humility across turf wars and silos and boundaries, contributing as a peer, mentor, or friend. And for this, we are grateful. So thank you all for joining us. And I am so honored to be turning the program over to someone I deeply admire, Dr. Sharon Watkins. Sharon?
Thank you, everyone, for braving yet another virtual meeting login process, which I did not quite successfully navigate in these first few minutes. But as Janet mentioned, it is a privilege to be here with all of you and to recognize the commitment and excellence of some of our members and partners who have supported CSTE's mission this year. We will also be recognizing individuals who have committed hours of service and volunteer in recent years as members of our executive board. And it's really truly a privilege to recognize those who've committed so much time to support of CSTE's mission and vision, which is using the power of epidemiology to improve the public's health. 2020 has been an unprecedented year for all of us, as the global COVID-19 pandemic has changed life as we know it and public health as we know it. Like many other organizations, CSTE was forced to cancel its business and meeting its annual conference due to this pandemic, and so we are not meeting in person. While we're here tonight to honor our award recipients and shining stars, we should also recognize and thank those of you who are working tirelessly to support the COVID-19 response. We appreciate your courage, your resilience, and your dedication to the health of all. On a personal note, I know that many of us have worked incredibly long hours and weekends and holidays and missed time with our families. In fact, missed many things that we were hoping and anticipating in the coming year. It's the first time ever that we've missed our annual meeting, and it's an opportunity to really connect with each other in that in-personal connection where we get to talk over and visit and relive and think through all of the things that are going through our public health family. And I would just say, I think this year we would all have a good chuckle and collectively marvel at the sheer number of new experts in epidemiology and public health that we're all dealing with every day. So again, I just want to thank everyone and go on to really talking through some of what CSTE is working on this year. Starting with COVID, we have the new national office has undertaken numerous response activities and new projects related to COVID-19 this year. And I'd really like to highlight some projects that will begin in the months ahead. We have an additional 11 new fellows to support COVID-19 activities. And the upcoming class of 46 new fellows will be the largest class to date. That's really exciting. The epidemiology capacity and gaps, the ECA, will be done during this public health emergency and help us really talk through the point of why we're underfunded for what and under-resourced for what we're going through right now. It will facilitate data on preparedness. We will be scaling up electronic case reporting using COVID-19 as a use case, super important to all of us. We'll be supporting One Health and veterinary and public health, something we see again and again and important in this epidemic. We'll pilot reference implementations for COVID-19 exposure technology. We will be supporting existing influenza hospitalization surveillance project and funding existing sites because of COVID activities. We'll support COVID-19 forecast and mathematical models, another important thing and one that we're all looking at in our own states. And we will collaborate with medical examiners and coroner partners to strengthen the capacity to detect and analyze death and the critical information for unexplained respiratory deaths and COVID-19 deaths. And we'll be building capacity and hosting continuing to host the weekly State Epi and core group calls and facilitating new work groups. I hope all of you have had an opportunity to join some of these weekly calls related to COVID, and they've really been a real chance to talk through our challenges and problem solve on this issue. Meanwhile, CSTE's funding through our cooperative agreement is healthy, in fact, more than healthy, and has remained stable. It's currently in year 3 of our 5-year cooperative agreement with CDC. And as part of our year 2 funding, running from August 19 to July 20, we received approximately $16 million in supplemental COVID-19 funding. The budget for 2020 and 2021 includes $15.4 million of new funding, and we are in the process of finalizing our year 3 budget and determining our carry forward funding for this year. In the current 5-year project, we've been awarded funding for 33 to 37 individual projects per funding year, and we currently have 6 COVID-19 projects and are anticipating an additional project in September. So what we're going to focus on next are some of our highlights and accomplishments. We can move to the next slide. And our next few slides will highlight some of the achievements of CSTE's Epi programs and workforce development efforts in the last year. This includes the work of steering committees and subcommittees, as well as workforce programs like the Applied Epidemiology Fellowship Program, which we are all incredibly proud of. Here are just a few images that show you the diverse and ongoing work of our organization. And let's discuss some of this year's programs and workforce accomplishments. We had to kind of cut down on this slide, but bear with me. CST supported health department capacity through funding opportunities, direct project assistance, partnerships, and communities practice. Our 3 major areas of accomplishment, including building capacities, training and resources, and convening and meetings and getting us together, which was a little hard this year. CST funded 4 jurisdictions to conduct neonatal abstinence syndrome surveillance and to report feedback for future updates or refinements to the case definition. When we made that case definition, we knew it was going to need refinements, and this is part of that process. We supported 2 pilot projects to assess the impact of climate on respiratory health outcomes locally. We expanded our RCKMS content for all nationally notifiable conditions and authoring access to all jurisdictions, and supported 58 jurisdictions and more than 30 healthcare providers participating in electronic case reporting for COVID-19. We began facilitation of NSSP community of practice and improved the coordination between applied epidemiologists and syndromic surveillance practitioners. The syndromic surveillance has also been a great tool during this pandemic. And of course, we've had ongoing collaboration with CDC, FDA, HHS, and other national nonprofit organizations, especially during the EVALI public health response. And I'm pausing on that, remembering that EVALI was just really a brief time ago. CST collaborated on and developed several trainings and resources, including the virtual suicide prevention gatekeeper trainings, online training offerings for opioid surveillance with creating an action plan for opioid surveillance, the 3rd edition of the C4 guidelines for foodborne outbreak response, and the integrating HIV surveillance and prevention programs to end new cases of HIV learning series. And finally, CST hosted several meetings in person and virtually, some of which are listed on this slide and include topics such as NSSP, AMD, ARSTF, disaster epidemiology, and influenza. So we've remained busy virtually, but certainly a big year for CSTE. CSTE recognized 14 Class 16 Applied Epi Fellowship graduates during a virtual graduation ceremony in July. 17 fellows are moving into their second year of the fellowship. This year, CSTE is welcoming the largest fellowship class to date, placing 46 fellows this summer in class number 18. What an accomplishment. The class size increases due to new funding for fellows placed in neonatal abstinence syndrome, overdose, and injury, as well as 11 fellows placed in assignments that are focusing on COVID. I'm sure we all could use more. CSTE's workforce development efforts over the past year aimed at increasing EPI capacity by providing training opportunities to members. And I'd like to mention my presidential priority, one of them, which has been working to develop the curriculum for a new leadership program for mid-level applied epidemiologists. This program, which is now called LEAD, L-E-A-D, will be launched in fall 2020, utilizing CSTE's new learning management system. I'm very proud of this effort. Other highlights include completing the second cohort of the Applied Informatics Team Training Program to 73 individuals and to 16 health department teams. Informatics, we couldn't agree more, and this data-heavy response has been something we need more of, and we all do. We've also been continuing the mentorship program for early career professionals with 85 participants and promoted professional development on topics of informatics, spatial analysis, scientific writing, and public health professional development through webinars and training. Data elemental to health and advocacy. This is super exciting. This is a real success story for the organization, and we continued our advocacy for public health data modernization this year with this campaign, Data Elemental to Health. Our partners included APHL, HIMSS, and NAPSIS. Our efforts to secure new funding resulted in the appropriation of $50 million for data modernization at CDC in fiscal year 2020 federal budget. In 2020, CSTE advocacy efforts resulted also in the inclusion of $500 million in the CARES Act for Data Modernization Initiative. The COVID-19 pandemic has placed additional urgency on the need to replace sluggish processes, manual processes, antiquated systems, and obsolete surveillance methods, including fax and paper reporting. Thus, our advocacy efforts continue with partners with an ultimate goal of $1 billion in funding for data modernization in the next 10 years, over 10 years. For more information, you can go to our website on this. And this campaign will make such a difference in the daily operations of public health, and I know all of us involved are very proud of that. CSTE's 2018-19 annual report is nearly final, and a digital version will be available online soon at cste.org. This year's annual report features a special section which will be highlighting our work in response to COVID-19. So look for that coming to you soon. CSTE is also growing. We're maturing as an organization, and there is now a CSTE Foundation. I hope you've been hearing about that. And it is an independent nonprofit 501c3 organization we established in 2018 for the purpose of developing, expanding, and diversifying the epidemiology workforce. So donations to the CSTE Foundation support the Foundation's developmental funds, the Applied Epidemiology Fellowship, the Jeffrey P. Davis Student Scholarship Fund, and core foundation funding. The foundation continues to grow, and this year, Heather Christopherson was hired as the first CSTE Foundation Executive Director. We're very proud of the growth, and we're very appreciative of all of you, past and current members, who have supported this effort. Now, we would be normally doing the thank yous for our board members in person, but here we are virtually doing this. And we are now going to talk about our outgoing board members. So Marcy Layton was most recently serving as Secretary Treasurer, and Marcy has served on the executive board from 2012 to 2020. We will miss Marcy's wisdom, her deep and extensive expertise, and the knowledge that she always took time to share from her position in the New York City Department of Health. Marcy was always engaged, always had an innovative ideas and thoughtful responses to the public health issues we were talking about. I actually don't remember being on the board when Marcy was not on the board, and I am really consider it a privilege to call her a friend. Marcy's helped to make some of the major decisions on the board in the last few years, and it's been really wonderful to have her on the board with all her connections with CDC and with all her knowledge of emerging outbreaks that has helped us all so well. And I'm sending a virtual hug to Marcy at this time. Marcy, would you like to say a few words for us?
Hey, Sharon, this is Janet, and I haven't seen Marcy be able to join tonight. I know how incredibly busy she is, so we'll try and see if she is able to join, but I haven't seen her yet.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks very much. Always hard when we're virtual, but Marcy deserves a big standing ovation and a personal hug from me for all that she's done. So next, moving off of the board is our next member is Sarah Park. And Sarah has spent the last 6 years as CSTE board member, including in 2018-19 term as president. And no, you did not miss us going to Hawaii. We were not able to do that. She brought solid leadership and a fun perspective from her home state of Hawaii, and she will be sorely missed. Sarah, she always had an approach that involved laughter and warmth on every topic, and she led us all and made us all remember issues related to tribal and territorial populations, an absolute champion of those issues. We will miss her island view. Sarah, please say a few words and a collective hug from all of us at CSTE.
So I was just going to say that, you know, if CSTE meeting had happened, no, we would not have been in Hawaii, which was sad enough for me, but sadder still that we weren't able to make it to Washington State. And it would have been an awesome conference that would have married some of the aspects of Pacific Island culture we had planned. And, you know, Sharon, this is a lay for you.
Sarah, thank you.
You know, so, I mean, we would have, you know, could have had so much fun, but it is what it is. We're in this new world. You know, I'm sure Washington would have, Scott Lindquist and his crew would have really welcomed us with open arms. It would have been a really fun time. But I think we all have to keep looking forward. It's rough. And I would say that you all have been my rock. You know, these virtual meetings, teleconferences, emails at all hours, you know, with Marcy, with you, Sharon, with so many that I see some of the faces and I see names and such that help me feel connected still, being out in the middle of the Pacific. That has actually been probably the best, single most best aspect of being part of CSTE, and continues to be this linkage to know that, you know, I'm not alone, that we're not alone. And I thank you all. And I look forward to continuing the connection as we move forward into this absolutely insane world.
Sarah, thank you. And I can't wait to see you in Pittsburgh. I'm still counting on that. Okay, so the next board member rotating off is Rich Danella, and Rich has spent the last 5 years on the CSTE Executive Board from 2015 to 20, and he has acted as the Infectious Disease Steering Committee Chair, an extremely heavy position on the board. And we will really miss his insight and frequent sharing of stories, insight, and best practices. Rich always shared the public health, most recently published literature. I love getting that from you. And the inside knowledge of the work groups and position statement and policy issues that were coming down the pike. The Minnesota viewpoint and best practices were always shared quickly by Rich, which we all appreciated. And we have benefited from his really, truly, truly kind demeanor and actions to all of us. I know we will all continue to reach out to Rich. We will truly miss you. And personally, Rich, I'm just going to really miss your kindness. So if you'd like to say a few words, I don't know if Rich is on the call.
All right. Well, thanks, Sharon. I just want to say serving on the board was probably the biggest honor of my 35-year career in public health and epidemiology. Also, I want to thank you, the CSTE staff, which are excellent, and all the subcommittee chairs, which really made my job really easy, actually. And just that, my sincere thanks for letting me serve on the board, and I hope to continue to serve in the future in some other ways.
Well, thank you. And only you would call that position easy. We all know the infectious disease steering chair was not easy. So thank you. So the last member of the board to rotate off is Barbara Gabella. And Barbara joined the executive board in 2017 as cross-cutting one steering committee chair with a focus on substance use, mental health, and injury projects. And she brought a really fresh perspective and a great sense of humor to the proceeding. And she led the board through really the opioid, substance abuse, mental health issues with deep knowledge and a really wonderful, wicked sense of humor. We really benefited as an organization with her expertise and her really extensive relationship to others at CDC and to SAMHSA on these issues. Barbara, we're going to miss you, and I don't know if you'd like to say a few words.
Here's my Zoom wave, and I have to say that I could say ditto to what Sarah and Rich said. It has been my honor to serve on the board, and I will miss working so closely with such talented CSTE members and staff. Like parenthood, serving on the board was the hardest job I'll ever love. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. I know we'll reach out again. So this would be happening typically during our dinner meeting, our award ceremony. But our next awards are the Pumphandle Award. So each year, CSTE gives a Pumphandle Award, and it's given for outstanding achievement in the field of applied epidemiology to an epidemiologist who really exemplifies extraordinary contributions to and outstanding achievements. This year, we had two individuals the board felt were both deserving of the Pumphandle Award, and that's unique. And frankly, we felt absolutely no need to decide on one, or like absolutely we want both. And I have the honor of introducing not one but two award winners, and that is Dr. Ann Schuckett, Principal Deputy Director of CDC, and Dr. Tom Safranek, State Epidemiologist from Nebraska. So let me start with Dr. Schuckett. Most of you here have likely worked with Dr. Schuckett in her career at CDC. She joined CDC as an EIS officer in 1988. She became CDC's Principal Deputy Director in September of 2015 and served as acting CDC Director from January through July of 2017 and February and March of 2018. From 2006 to 2015, she served as director of CDC's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases and as chief of the Respiratory Diseases Branch from 1998 to 2005. She's played key roles in CDC emergency responses, including H1N1 in 2009, the 2003 SARS outbreak in Beijing, and of course this year, COVID-19. Ann's incredibly direct, patient, clear, and constant leadership have been an inspiration to us all. And something we really have counted on, particularly in recent outbreaks such as Zika, Hep A, Ebola, and of course during COVID. Her unwavering support of CSTE and to all of us working at the local levels has been critical to us, really our success as well. And we've been really lucky to have Anne in our corner. Nothing that I can say is really able to capture the full measure of her career and its impacts on public health. And I would just like to just welcome and award Anne the Pumphandle Award tonight from all of us, from all of your membership here at CSTE.
Absolutely. Oh, for the days when removing a pump handle was sufficient to stop a raging epidemic. In this time of isolation and separation, when there is too much noise as well as silence, and while we are seeing threats of unprecedented nature affecting those we hold dear, I think that our extended public health community, our extended public health family, has become more precious than ever. In that spirit, thank you all so much for this recognition, but much more, I want to thank each of you for what you're doing every day and also every year to protect your communities and the nation. And it's a real lovely honor to be part of tonight's celebration. Thank you for letting me be part of the CSTE ceremony today. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for everything you've been doing. So our next award recipient is Tom Safranek, who's a longtime CSTE member and who spent much of his career in applied epidemiology in the state of Nebraska. He served as CSTE president from 2011 to 12 after different roles on the board. With a focus on infectious disease, he's been dedicated to state and national public health informatic initiatives, enhancement and funding of electronic laboratory reporting, and much, much more. Tom is also a fixture at CSTE conferences and has contributed often and much to the position statement process and the organization as a whole. You can always recognize him from a mile away. He has a huge, friendly smile and a really great bow tie collection. I had the pleasure of overlapping with Tom on the board. In fact, he was one of the first individuals who greeted me and spent some time getting to know me. We talked of everything from harmful algal blooms to informatics and capacity issues and public health, and then everything in between. I find Tom incredibly genuine and welcoming and someone who takes the time to truly sit down, look you in the eye, and get to know you. So again, Tom, I'd love for you to say a few words, and I just thank, we're really pleased and proud to be giving you the Pumphandle Award.
Sharon, thanks so much. I'm really overwhelmed with those remarks. And I only wish my parents could have been here, as I think they often wondered how their son, the doctor, ended up working in a government office for his career. And I reflect on what LBJ once said. I'm sure my father would have loved to hear Sharon's gracious remarks, and my mother would have actually believed it. So I was really overwhelmed when I received the email notifying me of this award. And my first reaction was go to the Pumphandle Award page on the CSTE website, scan the prior recipients, and it only heightened my shock and honor. And then to share this award with Anne Schuckett, who I hold in the highest regard for her years of leadership, especially after her presidential banquet reflections a year ago in Raleigh. By then, I was really, my vital signs were really going haywire. I'm deeply honored and grateful to the nominating committee for being selected to receive the Pumphandle, and I also want to recognize my colleagues and staff here at the Nebraska Department of Health, to whom I owe so much of my success. All of my fellow state, local, and federal epidemiologists are what make this award the most coveted I could ever receive. Recognition by a peer group with shared values and principles the unwavering commitment to the common good, the collegiality and friendship and common purpose and altruism, and the commitment to science and to truth. All this should strike a chord in any mature person as what creates real meaning and purpose in a job, a career, and a life. In closing, I would say at a time when rancor and divisiveness and distrust and abuse are the order of the day, all of us should find refuge in our CSTE community of friends and fellow travelers. And no, Ann and I didn't share notes before we put our remarks together. Thanks to Janet and Jeff for gathering us all together this evening for a moment of fellowship and friendship. It's an honor to be a part of this moment of tranquility and celebration at this unique moment in public health history. I consider it not so much a personal honor as a recognition of our entire council and our membership. And I look forward to reflecting this award in a donation to the CSTE Foundation to cover the cost of new membership fees to pave the way for future growth of this very special organization, more critical now than ever. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you both, and we hope to see you at least if in Pittsburgh, if not before. And please, all membership, please congratulate them when you do see them in person. We're missing that personal touch this year. Thank you both.
I feel it in your voice, Sharon.
Yeah, missing everyone. All right, let's we have another award to give, and that is the Distinguished Leader Award. And this is our 9th annual CST Leadership Award, and we're giving this to Ruth Linfield, who's the State Epidemiologist and Medical Director for the Minnesota Department of Health. This award was established to recognize the efforts of a current CST subcommittee chair, liaison, or consultant who has provided really exceptional guidance, leadership, and dedication over the past year. And the work of the subcommittee chairs and other volunteers really requires long hours of the calls and the meetings and emails and trying to mobilize our members and execute the tasks and projects of the council and cooperative agreements, all of the things that move us forward as public health. And this year's winner has been the model of diligence and leadership during a public health crisis, the crisis before this crisis, which was EVALI and the EVALI outbreak of 2019. She led the charge as co-chair of CSTE's EVALI Epidemiology Task Force, and it was really instrumental in assisting CDC to develop case definitions and data collection tools. She also participated in a leadership group comprised of members to group the work of the EVALI, to guide and group it together, the work of the EVALI task force. Ruth is also the CST president-elect. She's the incoming president, and she is the co-principal investigator of the Minnesota Emerging Infections Program. I'd like to say that I think that bridging this gap of a non-infectious disease condition, but an emerging issue, and needing all those tools and bells and whistles of an infectious disease rapid response is what happened, is what Ruth worked to make happen in EVALI. And I think that's really a gap that is difficult to bridge, and one of the reasons the Distinguished Leader Award was provided here. Ruth, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Sharon. Like Tom said, I am humbled and very grateful. This past year, I have appreciated the advocacy and the fellowship of CSTE more than ever before. The opportunity that CSTE provides to confer, debate, and discuss issues is unique and precious. The conference calls with CSTE colleagues, CDC, and APHL during complex outbreaks such as EVALI and COVID-19 have been essential to improve our understanding and enhance our response. The advocacy CSTE does on behalf of its members has enabled forward strides in many areas. A highlight that was discussed earlier being data modernization. Public health is a collaborative venture, and I am so grateful to my colleagues in state, CSTE, and CDC for the chance to learn from you and with you, and for your friendship. As has been mentioned earlier, this has been and will be a very challenging year forward, but we will make it together. Stay strong and stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you very much for your leadership. I'd like to move to our last award, which is our Distinguished Partner Award. And this is also the 9th annual CSTE Distinguished Partner Award. And this award recognizes an individual or an organization that has made significant contributions to CSTE and the work of our membership. This individual began his partnership with us in 2019 as part of CSTE's data modernization efforts, the Data Elemental to Health campaign. His organization, Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society, HIMSS, has been a strong ally and supporter of CSTE in this campaign and enabled us to secure meaningful and sustained funding for public health surveillance. This includes hours of meetings on Capitol Hill, targeted advocacy campaigns, and more. These efforts resulted in $50 million in new federal funding in the fiscal year 20 federal budget and $500 million in the CARES Act for data modernization. This partnership, this program, this campaign will move public health forward at a time when we're all aware that this is the direction we need to go, and faster than we had thought. Please join me in congratulating the 2020 Distinguished Partner, Tom Leary, Vice President, Government Relations of HIMSS. Tom, would you like to say a few words?
I would, Sharon, and thank you very much. And I want to congratulate the board and all of tonight's award recipients. It is truly an honor to be the recipient of the CSTE Distinguished Partner Award this year. Tonight, I represent the HIMSS team, both current and alumni, who have come to appreciate the great relationship HIMSS can and should have with CSTE. I'm especially thankful to my friends Janet Hamilton and Jeff Engel, who have been tireless forces for good on behalf of the community of epidemiologists in our fight for recognition and funding for public health infrastructure and, of course, the workforce through the data campaign. In 2005 and 2006, I had the pleasure of working with CDC talking about getting, we had a national vision for getting public health on the information superhighway. That vision isn't complete. We remain in the fight for our global family, including the wonderful Larry Bunch, who is represented as my backdrop tonight. I'm joined by my wife, Day, and my son, Marcus Paul, who have supported me along with my son, Jackson, throughout all of my work with HIMSS. And they're big cheerleaders for the $500+ million that we've all gotten in the last many months. Finally, on behalf of the 82,000 HIMSS members across the world, I thank you. I thank the CSTE board and the executive leadership for this incredible honor. I look forward to our continued work on the data campaign as we make health IT work to improve the lives of every human everywhere. Go CSTE.
Well, thank you. And thanks for that continued partnership. We're going to need it. So thank you again. And lastly, I'd like to talk about Jeff Engel. This is a thank you and a congratulations to Jeff Engel. 2020 has been a crazy year, and we really have not had a chance to adequately recognize Jeff for all he's done for CSTE. After 8 years of successful leadership, Dr. Engel announced his retirement as CSTE's executive director in early 2020. We all planned to come to Atlanta to celebrate. We had surprises in mind for him, and then COVID-19 hit. Jeff graciously stayed on as senior advisor to the COVID-19 response, assisting Janet with the pandemic response, and for that I know she is extremely grateful, as are all of us. Under Jeff, though, I want to just mention that we experienced significant, and I mean enormous growth in membership in our national office staff, in projects, in our budget size under Jeff's leadership, I think they may have tripled or more, and it necessitated a move in offices to even accommodate the larger organization. There was more often CSTE was at the table, both nationally in Washington and with CDC, and this was a really great direction under Jeff's leadership, and one we hope to continue. We are proud of all of his achievements and confident he has placed CSTE on solid footing as he moves into retirement. Congratulations, Jeff, on your retirement, and we really hope you have some time for rest and relaxation soon. We know you love seeing your family and your love of music. Hope we get to spend more time with that. And we know you're working hard during the COVID response. And we really hope to celebrate you more in person at the next conference, which we've definitely promised you, Jeff. Would you like to say a few words?
Well, I must admit it was a nice way to end my career working in the nonprofit world, but I'm just a brief bio, because what it impresses me most is how viruses can change the world and can change careers. So I graduated medical school in 1981, in the same year that HIV was recognized as a new human pathogen. And here we are in 2020 with COVID-19, another pandemic, another virus. And it's interesting because in my infectious disease fellowship, I studied herpes simplex virus. So I've been a research virologist, an infectious disease virologist, and a virological epidemiologist. And I'm impressed with the power of these little organisms that are subcellular, how they can emerge from animals, both HIV and COVID, from mammalian viruses, and how they can adapt to the human population and wreak such havoc. And then humans, with all their intellectual power and might, come up with countermeasures. So with HIV, we were able to develop great antiviral medications, which today remain our primary countermeasure for that pandemic. But the vaccine escaped us, and perhaps because it's a retrovirus, we were just not able to do that. Hence, medical countermeasures have been extremely difficult to implement worldwide, and we still see the HIV pandemic with us. Fast forward to 2020 in COVID-19, this weird coronavirus. I remember when SARS came out in 2002, 2003, I was a brand new epidemiologist, state epidemiologist in North Carolina. And when the CDC labs announced that it was a coronavirus, I panicked because I knew that was a human cold virus and now it could kill. But SARS-1 just died out. It wasn't able to successfully maintain passage in humans, and we lucked out. But we did not luck out with SARS-2, COVID-19. So here we have this new coronavirus that's going to be part of us. It's going to be probably in 5 to 10 years, just another coronavirus that infects people and causes the common cold. But medical countermeasures are coming. There's already one antiviral that has promise. And of course, vaccines are in the pipeline and are scaling up. And that's going to be our big challenge going forward, is going to be to deploy that vaccine, monitor its efficacy and safety, and relegate COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 to a new common cold for humans. So virology and viruses have bookended my career with pandemics. I do not want to end this as the master of disaster, however. I wanted to thank all of you for this award and my fellow award winners this evening, and what a tremendous ride public health has been. And to end in the nonprofit sector has been exceptionally rewarding for me. And there's just no other organization, because of its people and what we do in public health, the core science of epidemiology. I would like to bring my wife up. Susan, because now I get to enjoy family. And this is my wife, Susan Ehrlich. And,
Hi, everyone.
My retirement lasted one weekend.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be long, believe me. So when I'm done with this gig, I'm looking forward to enjoying family. And remember the work-life balance. It's all about family. That's number one. Thank you all.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jeff.
much, Jeff. Thank you. I'd like to move on to talking about our incoming board now. We have some new board members, and to remind you that Sherry Davidson, Alabama, is our current president, and we'll be speaking here in a minute. But our new president-elect, the results of the 2020 executive board elections were announced on Monday, August 3rd. Thank all of you for voting. Please, if you haven't voted in the past, please do vote in these elections. But I'm pleased to announce the following incoming new board members, and that is Ruth Linfield, who's coming in as president-elect, Kathy Turner, who's coming in as secretary-treasury. Kathy previously was on the board as well. We have Stephanie Ayers-Millsap, who's a member at large for our cross-cutting one position, and Kathy Brown, our infectious disease chair. Now, I mentioned our new CSTE president, Sherry Davidson. I'd like to introduce her. She is the interim state epidemiologist from Alabama. And I'm going to be handing over the virtual gavel. I really don't have a gavel here with me. I did at our CSTE meetings and used it often. But she will be the remainder of tonight's ceremony. We have a few minutes left. And before I do that, I'd like to again thank all of our award winners, our outgoing executive board members and attendees, as well as the dedicated CSTE staff for all of your support during my presidency. And I commend your dedication and hard work, and I appreciate your assistance in meeting my presidential priorities. And I now turn it over to you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sharon. And thank you for everything you've done as CSTE president for more than a year now, a little bit longer than usual. You've pushed CSTE forward with your presidential priorities and your efforts in developing and fostering the leadership via the new CSTE lead training and your work to co-develop the infectious disease and non-infectious disease surveillance initiatives to help, bring everybody together and make sure that we focus on them as a joint initiative. So you've already offered steady leadership during your CSTE's EVALI response and now during this response to COVID-19. I always appreciate your ability to bring various points of view and making sure that everybody has a voice at our table, even if it's all through your voice. And it's a great ability of you to make sure that everybody's represented. And I appreciate that, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. I'm grateful for your guidance and your service, and I look forward to working with you in the upcoming year as Vice President. Would you like to say a few words?
Oh, thanks, Sherry. I just want to say, if you haven't thought about joining the board, please do. It's really, I've been very grateful for this opportunity and really truly humbled by the experience. My years on the board have been really instrumental in really furthering my appreciation of CSTE as an organization and really understanding the power of what we can do. It's amazing. I've had the opportunity to educate our national elected officials, to work on position statements and really national policy decisions. I've been able to weigh in on occupational health and environmental health issues, opioid issues such as NAS, and to participate in helping us through Zika and Hep A and EVALI and now COVID. And it's been meaningful and it's been humbling. And most of all, what I've really come to understand is I've gotten to know more and more of the membership and the staff and the board members. And truly, that is where lies the real strength of CSTE. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sharon. And thanks to all of our attendees of tonight's first ever CSTE Virtual Award Ceremony. I look forward to working with all of you as CSTE President in the next year. I hope all of you will stay strong and stay safe. Thank you again for your commitment to applied epidemiology and public health. Have a good night, everybody.